All right, let's dive into Osaka, Japan. It's an amazing city, especially if it's your first time in Japan.
Osaka has so much energy, and the food scene is incredible.
Let's start with the basics. When's the best time to go?
Spring and autumn are great choices. You get nice weather and fewer crowds. Spring's amazing for cherry blossoms, and in autumn, the leaves change color. It's beautiful.
Sounds perfect. But what about the rest of the year?
Summer can be really hot and humid, and it's typhoon season, so you might want to check the forecast. Oh, and try to avoid Golden Week.
Golden Week, what's that?
It's a bunch of national holidays in Japan, all close together. Everyone's on vacation, so things get crowded and prices go up.
Good to know. So we've covered the when. What about the what? What should we see in Osaka?
Osaka Castle is a must-see. It's a historical landmark with incredible views of the city.
I've heard about that. Is it just a pretty building, or is there more to it?
Oh, there's a lot of history there. Imagine standing in the same spot as powerful shoguns from centuries ago.
Wow, that's amazing. What else is there to see?
You have to check out Dotonbori. It's like Times Square, but with even more lights and energy. Especially at night, it's a sight to behold.
It sounds pretty intense. Is it overwhelming for someone new to Japan?
It's definitely lively, but people in Osaka are known for being friendly. You might even strike up conversations with the locals.
That's reassuring to hear. It's nice to know there's warmth even in the hustle and bustle.
Definitely. And while you're there, keep an eye out for the Glico Running Man sign. It's iconic.
Speaking of icons, what about the Osaka Aquarium Kaiyuken? I hear it's one of the largest in Japan.
It's more than just large. You'll feel like you're on a journey through the Pacific Ocean. They have whale sharks, coral reefs. It's an amazing underwater experience.
All right, that's going on my list. We've covered the sights, but now let's talk food. Osaka is a street food paradise, right?
Oh, absolutely. You have to try takoyaki and okonomiyaki. They're classic Osaka dishes and so delicious.
Okay, break it down for me. What are they exactly?
Takoyaki are like little balls of dough filled with octopus, tempura bits, ginger, and spring onions. Then they're drizzled with a savory sauce and mayo.
They sound so good. And what about okonomiyaki?
Okonomiyaki is like a savory pancake. You can customize it with all sorts of toppings, pork, shrimp, vegetables.
I've tried making those at home, and flipping them is a nightmare.
It takes practice. Best to leave it to the experts in Osaka.
I'll definitely do that. Now, I've also heard about Osaka's kushikatsu, deep-fried skewers, right?
Yeah, it's basically anything you can imagine deep-fried on a skewer, but the dipping sauce is what makes it special. There's a communal pot at each table.
A communal pot, so I just dip my skewer right in.
Exactly, but there's one rule: no double dipping.
Good to know. So we've got castles, neon lights, amazing food. But what if I want to see a different side of Osaka?
For a taste of old-school Osaka, check out the Shinsekai district. It's like stepping back in time to the Showa era.
Sounds interesting. What kind of things can I expect to find there?
Lots of kushikatsu places, each with its own unique style. And you can try pachinko, a classic Japanese game.
Pachinko. What's that?
Imagine a mix of pinball and a slot machine. It's loud, chaotic, and very Japanese.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But what if I want something a little calmer?
For peace and quiet, visit Sumiyoshi Taisha Shrine. It's one of Japan's oldest Shinto shrines. Very peaceful and serene.
What exactly is a Shinto shrine?
Shinto is an ancient Japanese religion focused on nature and ancestors. Shinto shrines are their places of worship. They often have these beautiful red gates called torii.
So it's a place to connect with Japan's spiritual side. What's it like visiting a Shinto shrine?
You'll feel a sense of peace as soon as you enter. The smell of incense, the wind chimes, it's all very calming. You'll see people performing rituals, showing respect to the deities.
It sounds like a powerful experience.
Whoa.
Now, with all these amazing places to see, how do you get around Osaka?
Osaka has an amazing public transportation system. The subway is the easiest and most affordable way to get around.
Phew. That's good to know. Is it easy to navigate, even if you don't speak Japanese?
The signs and announcements are often in English, but my best tip: get an IC card, like ICOCA or Suica. You load it with money, then you can use it on subways, buses, even vending machines.
So it's like a universal travel pass for Osaka.
Exactly. Makes things so much easier. You can buy them at train stations and convenience stores.
Speaking of making things easier, any cultural customs I should be aware of?
Japan is big on etiquette. One important thing is to take your shoes off before entering homes, temples, and some restaurants.
So I should pack slip-on shoes.
Definitely. It'll save you a lot of hassle. Another custom is bowing. It's how they show respect and gratitude.
Bowing, shoe etiquette, got it.
Wait.
What about the language? Should I be worried about the language barrier?
You'll find English signs in tourist areas, But learning a few basic Japanese phrases can really enhance your experience. Things like, hello, thank you, excuse me.
I'll definitely brush up on my Japanese. Now, let's be realistic. How expensive is Osaka?
It doesn't have to be expensive. Osaka has options for every budget, from hostels to luxury hotels, from street food to fancy restaurants.
That's great to hear. Where can budget travelers find good deals on accommodation?
Hostels are great for solo travelers or those on a tight budget. You'll meet people from all over the world. Airbnb is another option if you want more privacy.
And what about food? Can you eat well without spending a fortune?
Absolutely. Street food is your best friend. You can get a delicious meal for just a few hundred yen. Explore the local markets, too. You can try all sorts of things for cheap.
Sounds delicious. Any particular markets you recommend?
Kuruman Ichiba Market is known as Osaka's kitchen. It's a foodie's paradise.
Kuruman Ichiba Market, noted. Now, on a more serious note, how safe is Osaka?
Japan is generally very safe, and Osaka is no exception. You can walk around at night without worry.
That's good to know. But any precautions we should take?
Like any big city, be aware of your surroundings, especially in crowds. Keep your valuables safe, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Excellent advice. So we've covered a lot. Sights, food, culture, safety. It's a lot to take in.
It's true. Planning a trip can be overwhelming.
What are the key things to focus on when planning an Osaka adventure?
Timing, budget, and interests. First, decide when to go based on weather, crowds, and any events you want to see.
Makes sense. Get the timing right, then figure out the budget.
Exactly. Osaka has options for every budget, so figure out what's comfortable for you.
And then tailor the trip to your interests.
Right. History, food, nature, whatever excites you. Do some research and choose what appeals to you most.
This has been so insightful. I'm ready to start planning my Osaka trip.
Me too. That's the magic of Osaka. It just makes you want to experience it firsthand.
Well, thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into Osaka. We hope you're feeling inspired.
Osaka is waiting to be explored. With a little planning and an open mind, you're guaranteed a fantastic experience.
So keep researching, stay curious, and get ready for an unforgettable adventure. We'll be right back after a quick break with more on planning your Osaka trip.
It's interesting, we've been talking about modern Osaka, but we shouldn't forget about its history. Osaka wasn't always this big modern city we see today.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about the past when you're surrounded by all the excitement. I did read somewhere that Osaka was actually Japan's capital a long time ago.
You're right. Centuries ago, before Tokyo became the capital, Osaka was the center of everything. It was called Naniwa back then, and it was a thriving port city even in the 7th century.
Wow, the 7th century. That's ancient. So what happened? Why did Osaka lose its capital status?
Well, like with most things in history, it's complicated. Dynasties changed, priorities shifted, and eventually the capital moved.
Makes sense. But it's amazing to think about all those layers of history beneath the surface of modern Osaka.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes exploring Osaka so fascinating. You see that blend of old and new everywhere you go.
Thinking about all that history, it makes sense why Osaka is called the nation's kitchen. It's not just about the street food scene we talked about earlier.
Oh, absolutely. That nickname goes way back to Osaka's days as a major trading center. People from all over Japan would come to Osaka to trade, bringing their local cuisines with them.
So it's a culinary heritage that's been built over centuries.
Exactly. Osaka has this open, welcoming spirit when it comes to food. They embrace new flavors while respecting tradition. You can find centuries-old dishes alongside modern creations.
It sounds like a foodie's dream come true. So we've talked about history, sights, food, travel tips. What about the overall vibe? What's it like to be in Osaka?
People say Osaka is more down-to-earth than other big cities in Japan. Friendlier, more outgoing.
So maybe less intimidating for a first-time visitor?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, politeness and respect are still very important in Japanese culture. But in Osaka, you might find people are a bit more open to chatting and joking around.
I've heard they have a great sense of humor in Osaka.
They do. There's even a local dialect, Osaka Ben, which is known for being funny and playful.
That's awesome. So it's not just about seeing the sights, it's about experiencing the unique energy of the city and its people.
Absolutely. Travel is about immersing yourself in a culture. And Osaka offers a really special, welcoming experience.
So let's say you've decided to take the plunge and book a trip to Osaka. What can you do to prepare before you even leave home?
It's always a good idea to learn a little about Japanese etiquette beforehand. It shows respect and helps you avoid any accidental faux pas. It can even lead to more meaningful interactions with the locals.
So a little cultural homework goes a long way.
Oh, absolutely. Even a few basic phrases and customs can make a difference. There are lots of resources online, even apps that can teach you. It's a fun way to get excited for your trip.
I like that. What about the language barrier? I don't speak much Japanese.
You'll find that most signs in tourist areas are in English. And many restaurants have English menus too, especially in popular areas.
That's a relief. I was a little worried about getting lost in translation.
And don't forget about technology. Translation apps have become so advanced you can use them for signs, menus, anything.
Those apps are lifesavers. Any other pre-trip tips you'd recommend?
Definitely get a prepaid SIM card or pocket Wi-Fi for your phone. Having internet access is so useful for navigation, translation, and staying connected with people back home. You can find them easily at the airport or in electronic stores.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine traveling without internet these days. It's so useful for everything.
It really is. Oh, and one last piece of advice. Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and try new things. Osaka is a city that rewards curiosity. Be open to new experiences, and you'll have an amazing time.
I love that. Travel is all about pushing your boundaries and embracing the unexpected. So to recap, we've talked about Osaka's history, must-see sights, delicious food, and cultural insights. We even covered some pre-trip tips.
And remember, we've barely scratched the surface. Osaka is full of surprises. There's always something new to discover.
Okay, so for anyone feeling a bit overwhelmed, what are the key takeaways for planning an Osaka trip?
Focus on these three things: timing, budget, and interests. First, figure out when to go. Think about the weather, crowds, and any events you want to attend.
Timing is crucial. Then figure out your budget.
Exactly. Osaka has options for every budget. Decide what you're comfortable spending and plan accordingly.
And lastly, personalize your itinerary based on your interests.
Exactly. Whether you're into history, food, nature, whatever it is, Osaka has something for you. Do some research and choose what excites you most. Don't be afraid to mix and match different experiences to create your perfect trip.
This deep dive has been fantastic. I'm already picturing myself exploring Osaka.
Me too. And that's what it's all about, inspiring people to travel and experience new places. Osaka is an incredible city, and with a bit of planning and an open mind, you're guaranteed a memorable experience.
So keep researching, stay curious, and get ready for an unforgettable adventure. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's often a source of pre-trip stress. Packing. Before the break, we were talking about tailoring your Osaka trip based on your timing, budget, and interests.
And remember, it's good to be flexible. Things don't always go exactly as planned, you know?
Definitely. Sometimes the best experiences are the unplanned ones.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to deviate from your itinerary. Chat with the locals. See where the day takes you. You might discover some hidden gems that way.
That's the spirit. Speaking of hidden gems, are there any places in Osaka that you'd recommend that most tourists might not know about?
If you want a mix of history, art, and peace and quiet, check out the Nakanoshima Park area. It's a beautiful green space right in the city, surrounded by museums and cool buildings, a nice place to relax and recharge.
Parks are always a good idea. A nice break from the city noise.
And if you're a book lover, don't miss the Nakazakicho district. It's full of independent bookstores, cafes, and art galleries. Very charming, with a bit of a vintage vibe.
Oh, that sounds right up my alley. I could browse bookstores for hours.
And for a bit of nature, there's the Osaka Tenmangu Shrine. It's known for its plum blossoms in the spring. They also have a monthly flea market there, which is fun to check out.
Wow, these are great additions to our Osaka list.
Okay.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about packing. Any tips for packing for Japan?
Shoes are important. You'll be doing a lot of walking, so comfortable shoes are a must. But you'll also be taking your shoes off a lot at temples and shrines.
So what are you already winning?
Pack a pair of comfortable walking shoes for everyday exploring. And bring some slip-on shoes that are easy to take on and off. It'll make your life so much easier.
Good point. I'm always fumbling with my laces. Any other packing must-haves?
Bring a reusable water bottle. The tap water in Japan is perfectly safe to drink. It's good for the environment and saves you money in the long run.
Staying hydrated is important, especially when you're on the go. Anything else?
If you're visiting friends or staying with a local family, it's customary to bring a small gift from your home country. It's a nice gesture.
What kind of gifts are appropriate?
Food items are always a good choice, something that represents your region or culture. It's a nice way to share a bit of home and start a conversation.
Those are some great tips. It's amazing how little things like shoes and gifts can make such a difference when you're traveling.
It's all about being prepared, being respectful, and enjoying the journey.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything you need to know for an amazing trip to Osaka. We've talked about the sights, the food, the culture, even practical tips like packing.
And we've barely scratched the surface. Osaka is a city that keeps on giving. There's always something new to discover.
I'm already dreaming of trying all those delicious street foods and exploring those hidden gems.
Osaka has a certain energy that's hard to resist. It draws you in.
It really does. So to all our listeners out there, keep researching, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep an open mind.
The best travel experiences often come from the unexpected. Embrace the unknown, try new things, and you'll create memories to last a lifetime.
This has been a fantastic deep dive into Osaka. Thank you to everyone for joining us.
We hope you're feeling inspired and ready to plan your own Osaka adventure.
Remember, travel is about more than just checking things off a list. It's about opening yourself up to new experiences, new cultures, new perspectives.
So get out there, explore the world, and discover all the amazing things it has to offer.
Until next time, happy travels, everyone.